Before we begin, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and activate notifications, because the story you're about to hear will grip your heart with every beat. One night, when a group of kidnappers attacked a young woman, they thought it would be easy. What they didn't know was that her dog was no ordinary pet. He was a German shepherd, tall, calm, imposing, and a trained veteran. What happened next left everyone speechless and changed their lives forever. The wind howled that night, rustling dry leaves around Clara as she walked along a dimly lit street, returning from university after a long day. Her headphones drowned out the world. Walking beside her, her dog Rex, a majestic German shepherd with sleek fur and sharp eyes, remained alert. To most, Rex was just a loyal companion. But Clara knew the truth. Rex was a former military dog, trained in combat. His previous owner, a soldier, had raised him for battle. After the soldier died in action, Rex was left without a purpose, until Clara adopted him. That night, Clara's routine was shattered the moment she turned into a side alley. A chill ran down her spine. She wasn't alone. Before she could react, a van screeched to a halt. A dark-skinned woman blocked her path as two men jumped out. "Hey, beautiful, were you headed this late?" one said with a crooked grin. The other lunged forward, grabbing Clara's arm before she could run. She screamed, her heart pounding, but that's when Rex saw everything. The calm dog she knew vanished, replaced by a beast on a mission. With a guttural growl, Rex launched forward. One of the attackers pulled a knife, but Rex dodged and retaliated with lightning speed, slamming his body into him. Clara fell in shock, frozen by fear. Then, the driver stepped out, holding a gun and aiming it straight at Rex. Time seemed to freeze. Clara couldn't breathe. If Rex was shot, he wouldn't survive. And then, in an instant of instinct, Clara leapt between the gunman and her dog, screaming, shielding Rex with her own body. The armed man hesitated, surprised by the girl's bravery. No one expected a defenseless girl to defend her dog like that, especially a German shepherd with killer instincts. Rex, feeling Clara's weight on him, paused, but his training kicked in. In one fluid motion, he disarmed the attacker, injuring his hand. The driver cursed, eyes wide. Distant sirens began to wail. Panic set in. "We have to go now," one of them shouted. The van door slammed, the engine roared, and in seconds, they vanished into the dark. Clara collapsed to her knees, trembling. Her heart still raced. But before she could react, Rex gently pressed his warm muzzle against her arm, breathing heavily, still alert. She hugged him tightly, whispering through tears, "You saved me." Rex didn't understand her words, but he felt her pain and stayed by her side. When the police arrived, Clara was still shaking as she explained everything. Rex stood beside her, unmoving. "Wait, you said your dog attacked them?" one officer asked, eyeing Rex cautiously. Clara nodded. The officer stared for a moment before kneeling in front of Rex. The German shepherd stared back coldly, alert. This is no ordinary dog," the officer muttered, pulling out his radio. Clara frowned. "There's something you need to know," the officer said. "About your dog." The ride to the police station was silent. Clara clung to Rex's fur, his steady breathing grounding her. At the station, a senior officer was waiting, older, gray-haired, sharp-eyed. The moment he saw Rex, his eyes narrowed. This can't be," he whispered. "Can someone please tell me what's going on?" Clara asked. The officer turned to his partner, who gave a nod. "Miss, your dog isn't just a pet. Rex was part of an elite military unit," he said. Clara's breath caught. The officer retrieved a weathered folder and handed it to her. Inside were photos, Rex in combat during missions in training camps, and one image stood out. A young soldier, proud and serious, hand resting on Rex's head. The date was from 4 years ago. "Who's this?" Clara asked. "That's Captain Gabriel Mendez," the officer said. He was Rex's partner, his trainer, and Rex was his shadow. He died in an ambush. Rex survived, though wounded. He was retired, passed through several homes, until he found you. Clara's eyes welled with tears. She looked at Rex, who had always been at her side. She whispered, "He saved me tonight." "I'm not surprised," the officer said. "Rex never forgets who he protects." Just then, another officer burst into the room. "There's more," he said, breathless. "We ran the suspects' IDs." Clara's chest tightened. "They weren't just random attackers," the officer continued. "They're part of a human trafficking ring. This wasn't random. They were watching you." Clara gasped. "They were hunting me," she whispered. "And if they failed this time," the officer added, "they will try again." At that very moment, everything collapsed. Before she could even respond, Rex let out a low, deep growl. He straightened, ears perked, and stood alert. Clara felt a chill on her skin. Something was wrong. Then, before she could ask what was happening, a loud bang echoed near the police station. Darkness. The sound of the gunshot rang out like thunder in the night. Clara felt a cold shiver sweep through the room. Officers snapped into high alert. Everyone took cover. "Get down!" someone shouted. The captain drew his weapon, and Rex responded instantly, positioning himself in front of Clara protectively. His muscles were tense, eyes fixed on the door. The warrior instinct inside him was fully awake. Chaos had seized the station. More gunshots rang out outside, followed by screams and shattering glass. "They're here!" an officer yelled, diving behind a desk. Clara's heart pounded so hard she could barely breathe. How did they get here so fast? The captain turned to her. "We need to get you out. Now, they're after you." Clara trembled, her eyes searching for Rex, who was laser-focused on the sounds around them. "Can we make it?" she whispered. The captain pointed to the back door. "You'll have to run." Another shot shattered a window. Clara flinched. Rex barked furiously, baring his teeth. Then, the front door exploded open, splinters of wood flying as several hooded, armed men stormed in. One of them, a woman, screamed Clara's name. A wave of terror overtook Clara when her eyes locked with the leader of the attackers, the same man who had tried to kill Rex before. Outside, panic froze her for a second, but Rex didn't hesitate. Pastor Herman lunged forward with terrifying speed, sinking his teeth into the wrist of the first man who got too close. The attacker screamed in pain as Rex's soldier-trained strength brought him to the ground. "Clara!" the captain shouted, pushing her toward the back door. Gunfire echoed around them. The police were trying to fight back, but the station was compromised. There was no time. Clara ran, her body moving purely on instinct. Rex, having taken down one man, spun around and followed her without hesitation. The alley behind the station was narrow and dark, filled with dumpsters and abandoned cars. Cold wind cut through Clara's skin as she darted into the night. Rex ran beside her, breathing heavily but focused. "We need to hide," Clara whispered in panic, clutching her chest. But before they could form a plan, footsteps echoed behind them. They were being chased. Rex stopped and turned toward the sound. A low, threatening growl rumbled from his throat. He was ready to fight. Clara quickly scanned the area and spotted an old warehouse with a slightly open door. Not perfect, but it was their only option. "Go!" she breathed, pulling Rex with her. They slipped inside. Clara gently shut the door, holding her breath. Footsteps. Silence. Then she slumped against the wall, trembling. This can't be happening. Rex pressed his nose to her leg, as if trying to comfort her. But the calm didn't last. A dull sound echoed through the warehouse. Someone had entered. Clara held her breath as a shadow appeared in the doorway. Then, a voice she feared most filled the air. You really thought you could escape? It was the leader. He had come for her. Inside the warehouse, the air was thick. Only the sound of Clara's strained breath and Rex's tense panting broke the silence. The leader stepped closer, his silhouette sharp in the dim light. You can't run from us, he said coldly. Clara frantically looked around for something, anything to help. But there was no way out. Rex didn't flinch. The German shepherd stood tall in front of Clara, his fangs glinting in the faint light, ready to strike. The man sneered. That damn dog again. He pulled a knife from his belt, twirling it between his fingers. I won't make the same mistake twice. Clara's breath caught. She couldn't let them hurt Rex. Please, she said with a shaking voice. Leave us alone. The man chuckled. Not possible. He threw the knife, a silver flash in the air. But Rex was faster. He leapt forward, dodging the blade and slamming his body into the man. The attacker staggered but didn't fall. Growling, he tried to strike again, grazing Rex's side. Rex let out a yelp but didn't back down. Clara screamed, overwhelmed by desperation. A simple dog can't. No, she thought. He's not just a dog. With a surge of fury, Clara grabbed an iron rod from the ground and slammed it against the man's arm. He screamed, dropping the knife. Rex lunged, teeth bared, and struck the man's throat. The attacker crashed to the ground, clawing at the dog clamped onto him. But Rex had him pinned. Clara gasped, tears in her eyes. They had won, but they couldn't stay. She picked up the fallen knife and looked at Rex, still holding the man down. Let's go, boy. Rex gave one last snarl before backing off. They ran out of the warehouse into the cold night air. But the sound of an engine froze her blood. A black van waited for them. The driver hit the gas. Clara ran as fast as she could, streets blurring past. But the van was too fast. Rex barked, wild with rage. We can't outrun them forever. She veered into a narrow alley, dead end. Trapped. The van's headlights lit them up like a spotlight. The back door opened, and two armed men stepped out with cruel smiles. You made it this far, one said. But this is the end, girl. Clara's eyes filled with tears. She couldn't let them take Rex. Then Rex stepped forward. He wasn't afraid. Clara felt the cold creep into her bones. There was no escape. Rex was in full attack mode, fur bristling, eyes locked on the enemy. One man laughed. You've got nowhere left to run. Clara swallowed her fear. If you touch us, you'll pay, she said. The men laughed. Police? They're already paying. No one's coming. The leader raised his gun. Clara's heart stopped. This was the end. But Rex wouldn't let it happen. Without warning, the German shepherd launched forward like a missile. A gunshot echoed. The alleys exploded into chaos. Clara screamed with all her might, but when she opened her eyes, she saw Rex, latched onto the arm of a man with a gun. The kidnapper cried out in pain as Rex, with brute strength, tackled him to the ground. The gun slid across the pavement, landing near Clara. She didn't even think. She grabbed it with trembling hands. When another man reached for the gun, she shouted with all the determination she could muster, "Don't move!" Her voice cracked but held firm. Rex continued fighting the first attacker, his nose bleeding, his body trembling from pure adrenaline. But then, The worst thing Clara feared happened. The van driver stepped out, holding a shotgun. "Let him go, or I'll blow him apart," he shouted. Time slowed. Clara felt despair explode in her chest. There was no time. "Rex," she whispered, her voice breaking. The German shepherd looked at her, the way only a soldier would. One who understands what's at stake, who knows what he must do. With one final growl, he let go of the wounded man and turned toward the threat. Clara screamed. The gunshot rang out in the alley. Rex dropped to the ground. It felt like the earth itself cracked beneath Clara's feet. Her heart shattered as she saw her best friend collapse in front of her. But Rex's sacrifice wasn't in vain. The driver hesitated. In panic, he looked at his comrades. "They found us!" someone shouted. They tried to run, but it was too late. A swarm of patrol officers surrounded the alley, weapons raised. "Drop it! Get on the ground!" a voice thundered. Chaos reigned for a moment. The kidnappers tried to resist but had no chance against the police. Within seconds, it was over. But Clara saw none of that. She only saw Rex, lying there, breathing heavily. She collapsed beside him, her tears pouring uncontrollably. "Rex, please hold on." The German shepherd looked up at her, eyes tired but filled with love. He wasn't afraid. With the last of his strength, he moved his paw toward her, gently placing it on her arm, as if saying thank you. The paramedics arrived. Everything else faded into the background. All that existed was the unbreakable bond between a girl and her dog. Then, Rex's breathing weakened. "No, no, no," Clara sobbed, holding him tightly. "Don't do this, please." They carefully lifted him. "We've got a pulse, we need to move now," shouted one of the medics. Clara felt her world quake as they loaded him into the ambulance. She climbed in after him, never letting go of his paw. The battle wasn't over, not yet. If anyone deserved to live, it was him. Inside the ambulance, the smell of metal and antiseptic filled the air. Red lights flashed over Clara's tear-streaked face. Rex lay on the stretcher, breathing uneven, body still except for the rise and fall of his chest. "We need to keep him stable," shouted the paramedic, fitting an oxygen mask on him. Clara couldn't stop crying. "Please, stay with me," she whispered. She remembered the first time she met him. The scars on his body, the war etched in his soul, and the unwavering loyalty in his eyes. He had always protected her. He understood her without words. Now he was slipping away. "You're stronger than this," she whispered, stroking his head. "Don't let this take you away." The ambulance screeched along the road. Every second felt like an eternity. The paramedics worked quickly, but no one could promise a miracle. Then Rex gasped. His body went limp. The monitor flatlined. "We're losing him," cried a medic. Clara's heart tore open. "No! Rex, please, please!" The medic grabbed the defibrillator. Charging to 50. Clara watched as the paddles pressed to his chest. The jolt made his body twitch. Silence followed. Still flat. Charging to 100. "Come on, Rex! Come on!" Clara shouted, her face soaked in tears. "Nothing. He's not responding." Clara felt a cold unlike anything before. "No, this can't be happening." She cradled his head in her hands. "Don't you dare leave me," she cried. "Not after everything you've done for me." Tears soaked his fur. The second shock hit. Then the monitor beeped. "We got a pulse," the medic exhaled. Clara broke into a shaking sob. His body trembled. "That's it, boy. That's it," she whispered, kissing his forehead. Rex was taken to the vet hospital. The scent of medicine lingered in the air, but so did hope. Clara sat beside him, gently stroking his fur. The German Shepherd was bandaged, battered, but alive. His eyes held the fire of a survivor. The police captain entered the room, arms crossed over his chest. "He's a warrior," he said with a smile. Clara nodded, her eyes still wet. He continued, "The people who attacked you are behind bars now. Thanks to your statement, we've dismantled part of their trafficking network." She nodded again. "Without him, I wouldn't have survived." The officer looked at Rex with admiration. Few dogs have ever done what he did. The force and the army both want to honor him for bravery. Clara smiled, still stroking his head. "He doesn't need medals. He just needs to know. He's home." As if understanding every word, Rex slowly moved his head. Clara laughed through her tears and leaned in to hug him tightly. "I love you, buddy." The German Shepherd closed his eyes, resting his head in her lap. For the first time in his life, Rex wasn't a soldier. He was a hero, a warrior, a beloved dog. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to the channel and share this video with someone who loves dogs as much as you do. Help us spread stories of bravery and love. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey.